Well, you are in the zone with Cranky and the Swag Man. Ready?
Ready.
Well, today's topic
Welcome.
is welcome. Yes. Today's topic is something that we have all faced, especially as crew leaders: the condition of the shared equipment on site. Porter Booms, here's looking at you.
And it seems to be an ongoing thing where other traffic control companies will come and ask to borrow stuff or get
Mm-hmm.
even workers on site. Like they've got nothing to do with the traffic control company themselves, but go, oh, can we borrow this? Can we borrow that? It's like, really? Like you don't have your own shit?
Well, what sort of stuff have they borrowed off you, Swag Man?
Well, it's mainly the tools side of things. So when I was working in the field, we usually would carry all those extra boom, uh, tiger tail type barricades. You know, the big long poles that have the loops in the end.
Yeah,
So they
yeah,
would
yeah.
usually use them to make like an exclusion zone or something like that. And we'd usually have 10 or 20 of those sitting on the ute at any time. So when the workers are having to make an exclusion zone, they're like, "Oh, can we
Yep,
borrow
yep.
those? We don't have enough equipment." Right? Yeah, it's like gonna have to take it after we're done here. So you could be mid job, and we might have to go to another job and take those with us. So it's like, yeah,
Well,
it can be frustrating.
they can always go and borrow some of the sawhorses from that work site in our old display picture on the Facebook page.
Yeah, I'm just actually going through that because it says we are live on the Shonky traffic controllers.
Oh, are we?
Apparently, according to the where it says live record, and then it's got the Facebook
Uh,
page in there. But
I got a Facebook page in the zone.
okay, in the zone, maybe that's. Oh no, yeah,
No, that is Shonky
yeah.
Traffic Controls. There it is.
But
Well, well, well.
for some reason, it's not showing on the actual Facebook page.
Oh, that's weird. Um,
So anyone that is 865 members doesn't even know we're recording right now.
I don't even have us on TikTok. I've given up on that idea because the TikTok live studio is such a pain in the neck to use these days. But
Everything to record and go live is getting more complex now.
yeah, yeah,
So it's
that's it.
yeah,
But
it's becoming increasingly annoying.
speaking of things that become increasingly annoying, we'll go back to the shared equipment.
Yes, shared equipment. So, what
Like,
is your experience with that situation?
oh man, for me, it's always the damn porta booms,
Yeah,
and those are even the ones that we've been renting from a certain company here in Sydney. Like they turned up broken, right?
broken. Did they not
Broken.
even test them before it left the yard?
Apparently, they were tested. At least that's what the tag and paperwork said. But when we set them up and try to use them, well, one of them
Failed to.
anyway, the the boom wasn't going up. We could see it was receiving some sort of voltage because some of the lights were going on, right?
Yeah,
So we're like, okay, maybe we need to move it into better into some better sunlight because it's solar charged. These things. Maybe it just needs to charge. The battery might be flat. Which again, why can these people not plug their shit in between rental periods? Right?
100%.
That'd be logical, right? No, no, not these people. So anyway, about half the morning, this was good enough. Okay, and then it died again. And we're like, right, what the fuck's going on? This thing should have had plenty of time to charge off the solar now. So
Yeah.
I opened it up, right, to find that not only had the main fuse from the battery to the computer had blown, right? It was it was dead set unplugged, so the battery wasn't plugged in at all. And even if it was, the fuse was blown.
That is mind-boggling. So, no one in the yard at all had actually checked this. And it seems
No
to be
one.
an ongoing theme as well because
Mm-hmm.
it's like they do your pre-checks and all that. They're like, "Yeah, yeah, we checked it." They never checked it.
No.
And if you actually look at the company policies, you'll be lucky if they're even up to date, let alone their maintenance records. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't get how half these traffic control companies are still operating, to be fair. Like they
Honestly,
all tick the box, and then they wonder why their shit breaks when it's like, well, this isn't working. They get a phone call, oh, that's not working. This isn't working. They're like, but we checked. It's like you haven't checked it in like 2 years.
it's like, yeah, you obviously haven't checked it. And again, speaking of shit breaks, I'm going to take you to the inspiration of this episode. I brought one of the light towers home from work the other night, right?
No way.
Which, it's not uncommon for me. I normally do tow the light towers around, but this particular one, every time I came to a red light or a stop sign, felt like I was being rear-ended by this thing, right? So I'm like, something's
TMA
up.
operator.
So, yeah, I'm like, something's up, right? Now, you know those light towers, they're about 2 tons each,
Yeah.
and they're only a single axle trailer, so there's not really a lot of stability there. So anyway, I get home. I got underneath it yesterday to discover that the brakes hadn't been adjusted in so long that there was a good 2 or 3 millimeter gap between the brake pad and the brake disc.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, right,
so
this
Mr.
is
Boss
getting...
Man, come fix.
Fuck that. No, I just got my tools out of the shed and I'm like, well, I know how to fix this. So I did. I got under there and tightened it all up and everything like that. Man, I'll tell you what, right? It had gone that long without an adjustment that there was so much road grime and rust on the brake discs that when I took it for its test drive, man, all I could smell was burning tar
Yeah.
from this road grime and the squeaking it started making.
Squealing as if your brakes are busted.
Hmm. But I mean,
Yeah,
that was the point of the test drive, because I knew that it was caked in shit. So I was like, I got to get this
it was
stuff cleaned
coming up.
off. Yeah, it needs to come off.
But
So
it's almost as good as the TMA that I seen on the Kwinana Freeway the other day, and I tried to reach them on the two-way, but they plainly ignored it. And if I had somewhere to pull over in this section of the freeway, I would have actually pulled over and said, "Hey, your TMA's not down." So it's probably about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, 8:30 at night,
yeah.
and then by the time I was coming back through that same area, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And the TMA, he had half his tail down, and it was literally halfway. Like he hadn't even gone the whole way down. It was just halfway. And I couldn't reach him. I'm sitting there going, if I had a space to pull over, I would have taken a photo of that, uploaded on Shonky Traffic Controllers. Oh, don't you think you should stop and check your shit before you take it out? Like,
Or at least look in
it's
the
mind-boggling. They had
look in the
5
mirrors.
TMAs, and this one TMA was like just half his tail down, operating with the sign up. And it's like, what's going on? He's just sitting there, casual, and he was in the same position at 1 o'clock. Like,
So
so
he's
8
got
o'clock going up, he was like that, and then 1 o'clock in the morning, he's still in that same position.
right. So he's got like 4 other people around him, and no one's
That
thought to
said
tell this
nothing.
guy that your cheese
Nah.
board's not down properly.
Yeah, pretty much. That's literally how it went. And I'm sitting there going, like, if someone actually hit him, he'd be absolutely screwed. Not only would WorkSafe have a field day, but it just, yeah, it wouldn't look good on the Channel 9 news report either. So it was probably broken or malfunctioned or something was wrong with it. But it brings the whole point of test your equipment before you leave, make sure it's running, keep your maintenance logs up to date.
Yeah,
I can't wait for when WorkSafe finally go around and do an audit on all traffic control companies, to be fair, because it might actually prompt them to actually start looking and maintaining their equipment. So then people like
hopefully.
us don't have to deal with the bullshit. So we check it. We always regularly check it. The ones that are good at their job will check their stuff. But,
Always do your
it should
360
also be
walk
up to
around.
the yard supervisor to always check these as well to make sure everything's maintained. And it's also part of the HSE policy that these are checked and maintained regularly and updated regularly in the policy. But
Well, it's meant to be.
Ever does that.
But they don't do it. Most of these guys will just sit in the cabin and they'll just go tick, 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 tick. Yeah, everything works, whatever.
Yeah.
And if something does go wrong, a lot of them won't report it because they don't want to spend the extra couple of hours sitting there at the end of their night shift waiting
Oh,
for a
100%.
mobile
Or they're
mechanic to show
reporting
up.
it and management's doing nothing about it.
Yeah, man, that's the
So,
other side of the coin, isn't it? Management will just
yeah.
go, yeah, she'll be right. No, she won't be
Yeah,
right.
it'll
It's
get
not.
done in the next
It's
rotation. Yeah, it'll come up. It'll come up. It's 6 months or 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. It's still the same problem.
I
Like,
used to work for
it doesn't get fixed.
a company that had a C-class pod truck, right? And this thing's clutch was so rooted
Oh,
that I think every 3 months the owner would send his mate out. Not a mechanic, not a real mechanic, just his mate out to come fix the clutch. And we'd be stuck there for half the morning waiting for this thing because they got the cabin tipped forwards, they got the gearbox out of this
yeah.
bloody thing, they got everything's
So you got
out on the
backyard
floor.
job on the clutch.
Backyard job on the clutch, and he's like, "Oh, she'll be right, mate. She'll serve you for today." And I'm like, "I need it to serve me for the next 6 months, asshole. Put it back
Yeah.
together right.
Yeah,
Fix it
100%.
properly the
The
first
worst one
time,
I've
bro."
ever seen is out on a mine site. I won't mention the company, but
Mm,
there's basically it was a high pressure hose, and it was like an air compressed hose. And when you
yep.
flick it on, you're meant to do all these maintenance checks, check that it's all locked in and all that sort of thing. Well, of
Mm.
course, everyone was doing the tick and flick, tick, 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 flick, flick, flick. Well, the one afternoon that they turned this thing on, because everyone was too busy not actually checking the machine, just ticking and flicking it,
Yep. Yep.
there was a bloke standing right where the hose is, and it actually just exploded and it just whipped out like insanely. And this is a long, long hose. Like it was a loud of bang, like it just went off and it came out of the generator and just basically exploded like a bullet. If anyone was in the
Mm.
firing line, which people were just about to walk in front of it, it would have been game over. Someone would have been killed, if not
That's a
all of them.
s- that's a skull
We
cracked at
ended up
least.
with a oh, we ended up with a stand down, whole toolbox meeting.
Mm.
The whole shift, the whole night was done and dusted. We basically had to sit in the break room and just wait for management to say, okay, we're going back to camp because the night shift is cancelled tonight. And
Yeah.
that's exactly
Yeah.
what happened. We sat there for 7 hours, 8 hours with nothing happening until finally they decided, no one's working tonight. This is a safety breach. And then in the morning, it was pretty much the first 4 or 5 hours of talking about maintenance on machines and what happened and what the outcome was, the whole story. Like it was a full blown investigation.
And
So
that's all
still
because
got
someone
paid my
can't be
money, but
bothered to just
it's yeah,
yeah.
all
Some
about tick and flick. They just couldn't be bothered doing the job, doing it, checking it properly, and that was the outcome of it. Someone could have died and got hurt.
Now, I've been standing close to a mill air hose when it's done the same thing,
Oh,
and I cannot imagine that having a hydraulic hose doing that next to you is going to be much more fun than that. In fact, we had a one of our TCs was standing a lot closer to it than I was, and she is lucky she didn't lose teeth or something like that because this hose
mm.
was unexpected, right? They got the air compressor going, they had the Grundy under the ground and everything, and then next thing you know, just pop, and that
Burst.
metal coupling, that thing doesn't give a shit what's in its way when it comes off.
Nah. That comes off, that's it. And that was the same thing on our hose. It had all the links, it was all tied on.
Mm,
You know, they tried to say, oh, it was checked, everything's been checked. But you check the maintenance records and you can see,
mm.
yeah, it's all been signed off, but you know it's just been ticked and flicked because in some of these maintenance books, it's got certain parts in it that don't even go with that machine. So you know they haven't even read, does this piece of equipment have X, Y, Z? Yes or no, or not applicable. They've just gone yes, 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 yes to the
Yeah,
entire row.
yeah.
Or check, 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 check. It's like you haven't actually read it because it's a generic maintenance book. So
Especially when
it
it's
should always
something
be
like
checked.
especially when it's something like machine odometer or hour meter or hour
Hour
meter.
meters, yeah.
Yes.
And when shit goes wrong, they try and blame the HSE person or,
Mm.
management. And it's like, well, hang on. It's everyone's responsibility, not just the so-called one person to go around. But yes, HSE do go around and check all these, but they only go off by what they see. They go, okay, Blinky Bill was here and he's checked yes to all of these, and they go over all the questions. If a good HSE will pick it up if it's just been ticked and flicked. But
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, companies just want a HSE person to do the tick and flick. And that's just all it is. So when equipment fails, especially when it's getting loaned out and borrowed by another company, you want to make sure that shit's working and it's not going to kill someone, because then that company's liable. The person that's operating it will be liable, and whoever's loaned out the equipment is also liable. It's a three-way waiting to happen.
That's
So,
it. That's it.
you know,
And not the fun kind of
that's why
three-way
you gotta
either.
Yeah, not the fun way. So you've got to make sure your shit's working, that it actually operates the way it's meant to before you loan shit out. Otherwise, you're just asking for a death to happen. And it does. There's been times where
It
equipment's
does.
failed and people have been killed from it. So
Oh shit!
everyone
Especially
just
things
seems to
like
forget about it.
like scissor lifts and whatnot. Scissor lifts are fucking famous for it.
Oh,
Like,
100%. My mate got caught in one, actually.
yeah. And you'd think
They
it
were
would
playing
be
blasters, and they put all their tools onto the platform. They're chucking everything in there, paint, whatever they're needing on there. But it's got a weight capacity. Now, when my mate went up there, he's not a small guy. Like, he's like 7 foot, built like a shit house, and then his offsider is like this little Chinese fella, and they've
yeah.
just stored all the equipment. Now, when they jumped on it, they didn't think that they'd be overweight or anything to lift all the equipment up, and there was no alarm bells to let them know. So anyway, they've gone into the big silo tank, lifted the scissor lift all the way up to capacity to where they needed to be to start paint blasting,
And
and
they
all
can
of a
go up to a
sudden
good
alarm
5
bells
meters
are
or
going
something.
off. So some of them can, yeah. This was just a standard EWP scissor lift. So they've gone all the way up, and then all of a sudden these alarm bells are going off. It's gone into shutdown mode. The whole kit caboodle. They spent 2.5, 3 hours stuck in the air until somebody got on the radio and said, "Hey, does anyone know how to get a scissor lift back down?" And obviously, I knew where the emergency switch was underneath it, so you can actually activate that, and it'll just bring it straight back down. It'll just override everything. So we've gone in there, and I've flicked that across. Well, they has brought the scissor lift down, but they spent 2.5 hours up there trying to work out what was wrong with it. So once it comes down, you've then got to get the technician to come out to reset it, reprogram it before to run again. Otherwise, it just won't kick over anymore.
And
So
rebleed the
that bloke's come
hydraulics
out
and
and he
everything.
says, you just got to go over the whole lot from start to finish. So he's come out and he's like, "Oh, how much shit did you have on it?" Because it's on the system, on the computer system, when he attached his cord to it, it says it was overweight. And they said, "Oh, it was just these 2 blokes and then all these tools." And they're like, "It has a weight capacity. You can't just load the platform and just expect, oh, yeah, it'll be fine. You've got this bloke that's 7 foot tall. He probably weighs, well and truly 145 to 155 in weight, muscle. Then you've got the second person who's probably another 75, 85 kilos, plus all their tools on top of it. And it just breached the capacity weight that EWP could even hold."
What a lot of people don't seem to get is that, especially things like EWPs and scissor lifts and excavators, the higher up you go or the further out you extend, the lower your weight capacity is.
Yeah. The higher you get, the lighter it feels, and the less controlling it is as well. So when you're up that
That's
high
it.
and you're moving that quick, it's oh, we are live. We are now live on In the Zone. Look at that. Yeah, when you're that high up, you've got the slightest move and it just jolts. It just feels like you're not stable. So you've actually got to control and be really soft with it when you're moving. If you're at that kind of level of height, because otherwise you got no chance.
You'll get yourself into some
tipping it
trouble.
over at that point. Oh yeah, and it's happened a few times.
And the tipping's not going to happen while you're moving. The tipping's going to happen after you've stopped.
Yeah,
Because
after you've stopped, and then all of a sudden this is like backwards,
the base,
backwards, forwards.
the base is going to stop, but you're going to keep going.
Yeah, yeah. They've made it compulsory now. So when you go on the EWPs and that, you've got to wear a harness now. So you've got to put the harness on. You've got to clip on. Some of these EWPs now even have safety features, so it won't even kick over unless you've actually attached yourself onto it and attached the emergency tag, the pull tag that they give you. So
Yeah.
they're getting more and more,
Advanced.
I guess, advanced in the tech that they're bringing out. But yeah, again, this is the kind of stuff you want to be checking if you're loaning it out.
But I mean,
especially with
honestly,
your boom gate situation, like not even
yeah.
attached.
Like seriously, I opened this thing up, and like right there, right in front of me, there's this loose plug just hanging there, and I'm like, you have to plug into something, right? So I go rooting
it's
around.
gotta
Of
go
course, that plug that it goes into is hanging off the back of the battery, and I'm like, oh god, that's why you weren't working.
You've been sitting there for hours on end with no power, no signboard, no nothing. It's not even connected to charge.
It just happened to be that for most of the morning we were getting enough voltage from the solar panel to lift the boom and lower it again. And then it's like afternoon comes around, the sun's moved, and of course the tree's shadow has fallen across the solar panel, and it's not getting any more voltage anymore. And then we're like, oh god, okay, it is fucked after all.
Something's wrong here. Something's going on here.
But
So how many of those gates was it? Just the one gate, or did you have two?
We had two, but I think it was the one that had the consistent problems.
Yeah.
And it's
So
like
there's
then
always one in the group.
yeah, that's right. There's always one clown in the class.
Yeah.
Cranky's inner auto electrician had to come out and start getting some shit done.
You had to put a different hat on.
And it was just so lucky that one of our guys happened to have a spare 30 amp fuse just rolling around in the cabin of the truck.
Oh, no way. You got to love those guys when they've actually got tools with them. They've come prepared for any situation. It doesn't matter even if it's to do with their job or not. It's like, I've got a tool for everything that we may or may not need.
I mean, like this thing was wedged underneath the the piece of plastic that forms the door frame under the footwell. And I'm like, first of all, dude, how the fuck did you remember that was there? And like, second of all, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. We'll take that. Part B of this situation was it finally started working. But by then, it was pack up time.
Yeah, just about. I think we only had like 2 or 3 hours left to go. And by then, old mate had been back on the bats, because as soon as the boom gate fails, you're on the bats.
You're on the bat, yeah, spill out in the heat or the elements. No more just pushing a button.
That's it. You're not allowed to sit you're not allowed to have your camp chair out in the shade anymore. You got to be on the bat now.
Yeah. Get out in the elements of everything. What else have you had that's been borrowed? Has it not come back, or has it always come back?
It's always come back, but it's always come back fucked.
Yeah.
One of those things.
It's like worst situation.
One of those things is the shared ute.
Hate that.
And you park the ute on the project. Night shift takes over. They use the same vehicles. You share them between shifts. Yeah. And it's one of those things where apparently night shift had nothing to do with the ute getting damaged, and day shift had shifty eyes, nothing to do with the ute getting damaged. What do you mean? We didn't have to put in a report for anything. Nothing happened.
Yeah, nothing happened. It was a clean
and it's like
night. Yeah,
just gradually shit starts breaking in the utes. Like one of the cup holders will lose
Mm,
its little springy thing that comes down at the bottom, and then eventually,
yeah,
6 months later, the ute starts having trouble changing gears because nobody was a hoon in this ute for the last 6 months.
yeah.
I don't know what you're on about.
Check the maintenance logs.
Mm-hmm. And it's like,
Who was in this last?
and you're like, I know that the company bought new utes just to populate this project with. These things were all
Yeah,
brand spanking new a year ago. Well, how the fuck did you guys manage to screw them up so badly that now they're like this?
it's one of those situations. It's like the housing situation at the moment. It's every video I seem to watch. All the builders in the eastern states are absolutely shit shocking, and the ones in
Mm,
WA,
mm.
when you compare them, they're not as bad. So the situation with you and the Utes, and the situation over here with the Utes, are the exact same thing. Like you
Yeah,
go and
yeah.
you have that swap over, have the exact same swap over, and somehow it comes back worse the next day, and you're just like, how is this possible? Like you have had it like 12 hours, and it's just getting worse day by day. And it's the same thing with the building trade; it's getting worse and worse and worse in the
Yep,
eastern
yep.
states every single day. Way in terms of that, it's not even half as bad, but shit, like I've seen some shockers, that's for sure. It's
I'm sure.
it's one of these
Mm.
situations. If people don't start looking after their shit, people are just going to stop loaning it out. Companies are going to start saying if you borrow a vehicle and it comes back fucked, you're going to be held liable for it.
Sorry
So
about that.
that's
I
going
just
to be
had
the only way of get.
this
Just
thing just
dropped your
fucking threw itself at me. That's what that noise was.
what
Sorry,
the? F-
continue.
That's what I
That's
was looking at. Yeah, I reckon companies are going to start sending out pieces of documents now saying if you take a ute out and it comes back fucked, you're going to be
mm.
liable for the fixing of it. I think
Well,
that's going to be
that's
the only way to hold people accountable for all this fuck shit that's happening because it does. It costs a lot of money to maintain this
it.
equipment.
It really does. Like, I'll say that we are lucky enough to have an in-house mechanic at our company, right? But one of my favorite things to
That's a
do,
plus.
it is a plus, and he's a damn good mechanic as well. One of my favorite things to do when I don't have any work on is to go into the yard and just give the trucks a bit of a once over, a little bit of a detailing. And I don't know
Mm.
how these guys manage to do it, but every single time I do this, like several weeks later, the next time I do it, these cabins are filled with sand.
Yeah, no, so with our last company, if we used a truck or a TMA or a ute, we had to,
Mm.
and it got quite dirty. We had to make sure we took it over to the cleaning bay, clean it before it goes back on the go line. And if you
Yep,
returned it
yep.
to the go line and it hadn't been cleaned, guess who's cleaning it the next time you're on shift? And it wouldn't just be that ute. You'd be stuck in the yard cleaning all the utes. And when
All
you've
the
got, say,
utes. Yep.
50 utes in the yard, your job for the day is cleaning every single ute because you didn't clean that. And that was
Yeah,
the only
yeah.
way that people actually took their utes to clean them, make sure they're all clean for the next person. So we never got the problem with the dirtiness of it, but the mechanical side of it, they didn't give a crap. They were just
Mm.
ticking and flicking, trailer hire, tick and flick, wouldn't check anything. It's the same situation.
Yeah, no, I know,
So
I know.
you learn pretty quick. Don't lend your shit out. If you've
But
got a take
it's
home ute, keep it at home.
I try my best. The last time I went on leave, I actually left a little note in my ute saying, "This ute was clean and had a full tank of diesel when you picked it up. Please return it in the same condition." Right? And it actually got respected, those wishes.
Yeah,
But I've come across
that's a
so
that's a
many.
change.
Yeah, it is. I've come across so many people in my career that have this mentality, especially with the traffic control ute. That's like it's just the old work ute. I don't give a shit about it. And I'm like,
Mm.
are you kidding
I
me?
think that the $32 that they're on is good enough. I only get paid $32 to work between this time and this time, and if it suppresses that time, it's not my problem. It's like,
Yeah,
let's just
that's
get
it.
home. We're not getting paid to clean it. We're not getting paid to fill it up. Why divert? It's like, well, have you got to be home for something? Like, are you racing home for any
Mm,
situation?
mm.
Like it, I I don't see why people need to race home all the time just because they're not getting paid for it. It's like, unless you've got an event on or, a sporting thing
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
what's the big rush to get home? Well, you're only going to sit in traffic anyway.
Well,
May as well take the extra 15 minutes and clean your ute before you bloody take it back.
yeah, that's right. I mean, like, you got to spend sometimes in Sydney if you're going if you're going to a job. Some of them could be 2 hours away. That's 4 hours of your day that you're sitting in that thing, and it's filthy as shit, right?
Yeah.
Care about it. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know about other people, but I absolutely hate sitting in filth.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. If I get into a TMA truck and it's filthy, I'll just be like, yeah, nah, not dealing with this today. It's not happening. So I'll just say who used it last. I'll make a report of it. I'll clean it, but
Mm.
then I'll make sure that the person that used the truck prior gets absolutely blasted for it for living like a pig inside the truck. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's food wrappers and drink wrappers all over the place. It's not just one can here or a can over there. It's quite a lot that's in there. Chip wrappers, lolly wrappers, chocolate wrappers, fucking
Yep.
soft drink cans spread. You may as well fill the wheel arch full of bloody soft drink cans or Red Bulls or whatever they'll drink in that night shift. It's like,
And,
clean your shit up.
and some people do. They fill the bloody wheel arches up with these things or the footwells. And I
Yeah.
mean, like, you got to take these vehicles to the servo every week to fill them up, right? There's a little bin right next to the Bowser. Just take an armful of your shit that on that day and stick it in the bin. It's right next to the fucking car.
Yeah. And most of the policies over here now, they've actually got in there. If you're taking a ute to a site, you've got to stop by the fuel station on the way home, fuel it up, and make sure it's clean. And some of the companies over here as well have basically got that same mentality. If you return a dirty ute, expect to not have a job the next day. So people lose their jobs over it, because they don't want to hire filth. You want to be filthy, go find another company to work for. So, your job's on the line. It's whether you want to work or you don't want to work.
Yeah, I mean, just
ball's in your court.
don't be a slob.
Yeah, do your job, clean your fucking ute, make sure it's maintained, report all the issues so it can be fixed. And the same with the equipment. If you've got a trailer, do a proper report, do a proper check on your equipment, and if there's a problem with it, report it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Get it fixed.
Uh,
I mean, sure, a lot of companies don't, they're not on the ball about getting it fixed, but as long as you've got it reported, and if something goes wrong on the road,
you can
your
say you've
ass is
reported it.
covered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. But if you haven't reported it and then you've used it, your ass is grass and you're fucked.
That's it. That's right.
100% screwed. I've got to head off. I've got to take our house guest to the shopping centre. The wife has just got home, and I've got to get to the shop before 5:30. So,
All right. Well,
that is.
it's been absolutely chatting with you once again, Swagman. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure. Sponsors.
Nah, it's all right. If you got to go, I'll do the sponsors. That's fine.
You do the sponsors. All right, guys, take it
that's
easy.
it.
Swagman is out. Take it easy, guys.
Peace out, man. All right. So Swagman's out. I hope he stayed logged in. Yeah, he has. He's stayed logged in. He remembers the drill. Right. So our sponsors, we got Bello Bliss. They're an absolutely fantastic little shower steamer. Swagman swears by them. I haven't tried one yet, but I know with my deviated septum, it sounds like absolute heaven. So go on there. It's I think it's bellobliss.com.au. We don't have an affiliate code for them just yet, so there will be no discount for you. But if you listen to this episode in several weeks' time, you might have a discount code from us. In that case, it'll probably be something along the lines of In the Zone 10, which brings us around to our next sponsor, which is On Track Meals. So that's ontrackmeals.com.au/in-the-zone and use the discount code at checkout in the zone 10. Now, On Track Meals is something that's close to my heart. I absolutely adore them because I answer a lot of emergency calls. And that means that on those nights, I probably won't be coming home to a hot dinner. Like, a hot dinner's not happening. Well, if you get yourself an on-track meal kit, it is happening. They give you the flameless ration heater. They'll give you I think, what did I have last week? I had the pearl barley and lamb and the mashed potato and pumpkin. Combining those two is an absolute life must. You got to do it. And then what else do we have? We got Simo's Butchery over at Lakelands in Mandurah. If you're ever over in WA, take a look at them. But yeah, no, on with the problems with equipment. If you don't report, it'll never get caught. You don't report, it'll never get caught. I've had so many issues over the years with equipment that nobody's cared about. It hasn't mattered. It's mattered to us, like everything, all the way down to signs. Right, it got to a point with a previous company where we just plain and simple couldn't get any signs because they would just keep getting run over or whatnot, whatever. And they, on this particular project, they were just absolutely used to death because we were there for a long, long time. Yeah, the signs, the utes, everything was starting to cave in on itself, basically. But like, everyone got this. Not everyone, sorry, that's wrong. I've met a lot of people who have this mentality that's like, oh, it's just the old work ute. It doesn't matter. Let it get a little bit dirty. Well, it's not a little bit dirty. It's very dirty. And please, you can't let it get like that. Think about your own comfort. Sure, it's the work ute, and people are like, you're not supposed to be comfortable in it. Well, you are. You're going to be spending a fair amount of your life sitting in this vehicle. So please, make it comfortable for yourself, make it comfortable for your passengers, and my goodness, don't make it dirty. It's not meant to be dirty. Everyone likes a clean car. Well, all the broken down equipment I've come across, it's just ridiculous. With that, sure, Swagman's gone, so I'm going to cut this episode short and bid you all good night. I'm not used to not having someone to sort of bounce off of anymore. I'm not used to being the only person in the studio, and I'm certainly not used to having no music that after a while I can just be like, hey, let's chuck a song on while I go make myself a cup of coffee. So that is going to be it from me. And I hope you guys all have a great Tuesday, because this is going to be going up tomorrow morning. And a special hello to Snoozy. I know Snoozy's going to be listening. And also to, what did we call him last week? Anyway, J-Man, you know who you are. Anyway, that's it from us. Bye.